Come on in, guys. Come on in, come on in. Come on in, y'all. Let me play the intro while everybody loads on in.
When I find out that you've been scheming against me and the people that I love, well, if it's the war you want, it's the war you gonna have.
Queens don't always talk and look nice and polished.
Being a queen has more to do with having balls.
To do what you weak fucks won't do.
When I find out that you've been scheming against me and the people that I love, well, if it's the war you want, it's the war you gonna have.
Queens don't always talk and look nice and polished.
Being a queen has more to do with having balls.
To do what you weak fucks won't do.
When I find out that you've been scheming against me and the people that I love, well, if it's the war you want, it's the war you gonna have.
Queens don't always talk and look nice and polished.
Being a queen has more to do with having balls.
To do what you weak fucks won't do.
Hey, y'all. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I can hear some feedback in my back monitor. Happy Friday, guys. Hey. Hey, Will. Hey, Queen Obsidian. Hey, Fresh Face. Hey, guys. Come on in. Come on in. We got to talk. We got to talk about an industry that I think is one of the reasons that at the turn of the century, Negro Americans was very much targeted. In fact, I don't think it, I know it, but we're gonna go through it tonight. You all voted yesterday, and the consensus was that I should come on every day. I'm going to exclude the weekends. Okay, come on every day and do a short show about history versus coming on one day a week and staying on for a long amount of time. So we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to go through very fast, show y'all some things, just get the topic, this particular topic going in the ethers, if you will. Because when we think about Negro Americans, when we think about Black Americans, we don't typically think about oil. We just don't, for whatever reason. So tonight we're going to talk, and this won't be the only show that we do on the commodity of oil. This is just show one. We have 28 days in the month. So, hey everybody. Hey Sid. Hey George. Huntsville, Alabama in the building. Hey Cam. Hey Love. Hey Kim. Thank you so much. Hey the Ethers. Hey Vernon Gibson. Hey, thank you all for joining tonight. Hey Minnie. Please give this a quick share really quickly so more people can load in, because it's such a short show. We don't really have time for the YouTube algorithm to kick in, or Facebook, or I think I may be live on Twitter as well. If I am, if you could see me on Twitter, please give this a quick share. Don't let Marcus be the only one sharing me on Twitter, y'all. I'm really trying my best to be on that platform, but it's very hard for me because it feels like you're talking to yourself unless you're in some sort of beef. It really seems like you're tweeting to yourself. So it's very hard for me to be on that platform. So if you see me over on Twitter, please give the video a quick share. Tell people to come over to YouTube. Last night, my video was being flagged for some odd reason. So hopefully that doesn't happen tonight. So first, I want to talk about why everybody load in. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go over to BLM right quick. Because I got to tie something in real quickly for research purposes. Let me show you guys when you're looking up land records, okay, when you're searching land records, I'm just gonna put in, I'll say right here, Simmons in Oklahoma. For those of you who are new, this is the Bureau of Land Management System. It houses a lot of ancient, what's called land records, heirs property records. Most heirs property records that you see goes back to one of these older documents. All right, so I'm gonna do Abraham Simmons. Abraham Simmons, 160 acres, patent image. I'm gonna click on related documents. And I'm going to guess, I see some Bennett, I see William Darby, I see Warren Hardy, I see Abraham Simmons. I'm going to click on surveys. Okay. Now I see the original surveys here. Oklahoma, Meridian, Indian. Okay. And I'm going to click on original survey. Okay. Follow me here, guys. Acreage, 23,000 acres. Okay. I'm going to click this box here, and you're going to see this map process me a square here. This square is where this Simmons family heirs property is. But why this is so important is this screen in particular bring you to a plat image. Let me click on the plat image. Now, usually, if you can find one Simmons, you can find 30 Simmons. So when you're dealing with heirs property, when you're dealing with finding your family's land, this is the image. You guys have heard me say, go to the courthouse, pull the plat maps. You can find a plat map here online as well. The reason I'm telling you to go to the courthouse is because I have these squares here, right? But there are no names in these squares. Wherever you live now in America, you live in one of these squares. For the purposes of surveying land, it was just squared off this way. Now, wherever you stay, it's probably, if it's not your family's heirs property, it's likely someone else's heirs property, and you still stay in one of these squares where that square goes back to some kind of family. Whether they know it or not is a totally different story. So this is a Simmons square, right? But the Simmons family could have occupied all of these squares. So I have 160 acres, I have another 160 acres, I have another 160 acres, and that could equal 23,000. You never know how much it could equal on once you look at the plat maps. Here on BLM, they don't have the individual names in this particular set of plat maps. But I just wanted to show you that so that you can see the importance of these maps and how much land is at stake here. Now, when you're looking up these plat maps, you can find oil fields, you can find springs, you can find all kind of things on these plat maps, okay? These original surveys that for some reason America has kept good track of. Although it's been a concerted effort to make it seem as if we are just the slaves of the world, America has kept great record. Unlike any other country in the world, America keeps great record because unlike every other country on the planet, here in America, the people who own the land patents own land outright forever. Okay? Forever. We're the only people on the planet who owns our land outright forever. Now, you could be shamed into thinking your last name was for some slave guy and it ties you back to some kind of trauma. But I encourage you to look at this thing another way because it's a lot at stake here. I'm going to also go, because I have to do this show very quickly. Hey guys, I'm going to come back to the chat. I'm going to go here because tonight we're talking about oil. And when you talk about the subject matter of oil, petroleum, natural gas, you cannot leave out Texas. Texas is the modern day If it wasn't for Texas, how the oil industry is running today would be non-existing. And let's go through that now. Let's go just a basic pipeline. Okay. Virtually every resident in Texas lives near a pipeline. Our state is home to more than 500,000 miles of pipeline. Typically underground, we can't easily see them. Pipelines across yards, neighborhoods, communities, state, and country safely transporting energy products every day. They connect to gas appliances in our home, located on our homes, businesses, underground corridors called pipeline right-of-ways. Now, the reason why I showed you the plat maps, I started out showing you the land patterns and the plat maps, is because these pipeline right-of-ways are inside of these land patents, okay, as a royalty, as one of the owners or heirs of these land patents. Families once owned these right of ways. Now, back in the day, when you're talking oil, you're talking the oil derrick pumping out of the ground. The pipeline systems weren't popular. But the language in the land patent, you own everything down to the center of the earth, as you know, and in the sky. So these pipeline right of ways also are included in these land patents. Now, because this subject matter was kind of taken away from the Negro population, we have not been really looking at pipeline right-of-ways, royalties, any of this. But it's Black History Month, and it's up to us to do our due diligence to explore this, because as you know, there are quite a few families across America who are now suing for these royalties. Now we're going to go back in and explore East. Before we do that, let's get a number, okay? Let's get a number on how much this particular industry is worth, okay? The market size measured by revenue of oil drilling and gas extraction industry was $604 billion in 2023. Okay? This is down 14.7%. So $604 billion last year is what this particular industry was worth. And that's down 14.7%. Okay? Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Texas is the motherland of oil, of the oil industry that we know today. Now, while I'm sharing my screen, let's go here to Reverend Lee Wilder Thomas. Lee Wilder was a very prominent, very rich Negro man in Texas. In fact, in Texas and Oklahoma. Let's get a picture of Lee. Let's get a picture of Lee on the screen. This is Mr. Lee Wilder Thomas. His dad is Boss Thomas. His mom is Betty Archbuckle Thomas. And some files even say she remarried and became a Burke. They had 13 kids. The daddy is from Alabama. They moved over to Texas in the late 1800s. And at the turn of the century, just so happened their heirs' property was sitting on a massive oil field. Okay. Now, I did find them on the census. What I was trying to see was if this Thomas family originated from Texas, moved to Alabama, and moved back to Texas. Because that's what it seems like. Because Boss Thomas also had a brother in Texas. And that brother that's in Texas did not have files in Alabama, whereas Boss Thomas has files in Alabama and Texas. Now, his son, Reverend Lee Wilder Thomas, land had so much oil on it. It made them, they would probably be trillionaires today. Let his oil, his land in 1922 produced 34.8 million barrels of oil. This black man, Thomas, the names that they say, oh, you got that from a slave. Okay? Land produced millions, 34.8 million barrels of oil. Now, if you're in the chat and you know how to, did I get the number wrong? Somebody said 689.4. Oh, somebody did the math. Okay. From the last screen, my chat may be a little bit behind. Now, if you know how to do calculate commodities, if you're talking about 3.4 million barrels of oil, how much am I worth? How much is my land worth? Now, if you all don't know, Texas have their own system of land patents because, for whatever reason, the Bureau of Land Management housed some Texas records, but for the most part, overall, Texas do their own thing because of oil. Now, this East Texas land, I think this is Springfield, Texas, Limestone County, which internally gave rise to them digging in another place in Texas called Gladys City, Spindletop. Let's put a picture of those oil derricks up. Spindletop, 1902. Okay, 1902. Now, this is a city. It was called Gladys City, but it was called both Gladys City and Spindletop. This was an all-black area. Black people running their own thing, doing their own thing. Now, this area is known as the mother of modern oil because of how many barrels of oil came out of this area. We're talking East Texas. Now, if we fast forward to today, none of this is owned by black people. Now, we have Thomas heirs all over the place. I have Thomas. He had a partner. L.W. Thomas' partner was Jake Simmons. So I have the Thomas family, I have the Simmons family, I have the Archbuckle family, and I have the Burke family. Now, it's more families than that. Let's go back to his find a grave. These were his children. O.A. Thomas, Ruby L. Thomas Kimball. I have the Kimball family. I have the Lee Mildred. I have Thomas. I have the Washington family. I have Thomas, Clarence W. Thomas officer, Humphrey Thomas. These are all black people who are heirs, and I have Clemmy Estelle Ross Thomas, which was his spouse. Now, Reverend Thomas Wilder was so popular as I was trying to highlight his children, but it may not work. He was so popular as a pastor and land and oil baron that he has been all but wiped out of history. His heirs have been all but not talked about. No movies made about him. We talk about Benjamin Banneker and Sojourner Truth, but we leave out L.W. Thomas because this particular industry, this oil industry, it'll put too many Negro Americans, Black Americans. It'll put too many of us at play as it relates to royalties. This was a man who had 13 kids. How many kids did his kids have? Where are his great-grandchildren today? They're all heirs. Okay. Now, something else I want to show you all. Something else I want. Oh, Spindletop. Spindletop. While I let me hop back to Spindletop. Spindletop, at the beginning of the 20th century, southern Texas economy, like that of most of the South, relied on subsistence agriculture, but cattle ranching and the lumber businesses were also important. The thing that I want you all to see in this article is the oil production. This is Texas total oil production. 836,000 barrels in 1900. 63 million barrels total. Now, if you keep reading up on this particular area, Spindletop, Gladys City, Boomtown, if you keep reading up on this particular area, it's going to say, well, this guy sure is not producing oil anymore. I beg to differ. See, it's not producing oil because it's not pumping out of the land anymore. It's now going through pipelines. Pipeline right of ways still go to the heirs. Now, you have some families are fighting in East Texas, fighting ConocoPhillips. This particular section of East Texas, I think, is BP. I think BP controls the pipelines that will be coming from this same, what would be a geyser back in the day. It's a pipeline today. It's BP, if I ain't mistaken. It's BP owns this near Beaumont. Well, this is near Beaumont. Yep, near Beaumont, Texas. Let me read this article right here. Spindle. Okay. Now, and you're gonna see some of these records. It's gonna say, well, the Spanish came into this area and they used the petroleum to patch up some of their boats. By Spanish, they just mean like the Mexicans of today. The phenotype of Spain that they're talking about is the same phenotype of Mexicans today because they was in close proximity to Texas. It doesn't mean the Spanish ever owned this land. Never. This was Negro controlled land, owned and operated. 1922 is what era? That's World War I. Now, 1 year before that, you had bombs dropped on Oklahoma, on Tulsa, due to what? Oil. So this whole arena, Texas, Oklahoma arena, even in Mississippi, was a black-owned oil arena. I just pulled up L.W. Thomas. He is one of many, y'all. In fact, he spent over 100,000, and that's just the number that they're reporting. I haven't seen the business files. He spent over 100,000 in Muskogee County, Oklahoma, to build an oil city just to have a black-owned workforce, and he only allowed black people to move in his homes that he built. They tried to keep it together. They tried to have unity in this oil arena. They tried. But it makes me think, during World War I, if this group of black people provided oil for the Allies, that means the Allies know that, man, look at all these black people and all this oil. These black people had so much oil at their disposal. They was using the oil industries to keep their churches afloat. He was a reverend. He wasn't the only reverend. You also have, some of you have seen Reverend Solomon Jones, who actually reported a lot on what was happening in the oil industry in Oklahoma. I don't think he reported on Texas, but I know he reported on Oklahoma, Reverend Solomon Jones. These Negroes, coloreds, the ones that they call slaves, the ones that have been mislabeled today, the ones who heirs have been mislabeled today as Africans, own so much oil that they use the oil industries to keep their churches afloat. That says a lot. That says that these people had this industry, they knew it was their industry, and they never thought that anything would ever happen to them and this industry of oil. Now, when you're looking for land records and you find your land patents that ties into your family, survey plat maps. Because if you had an uncle, if you had a granddad, a great granddad, you are an heir. Your cousins are heirs. All of you guys are heirs. Okay, you can all fight together. See what commodities are on the land. I think Jake Simmons owned Simmons Royalty Company. He had the largest black owned. Jake Simmons was L.W. Thomas's partner. Jake Simmons was also a big time oil landowner. He owned a royalty company, okay, where he was keeping up with the royalties, the largest Negro-owned royalty company. So that means, what if Jake called himself an Indian? We just call him a Negro today, African American today, depending on who write up the story about him. He could be called an African American today, right? So let's just say he called himself an Indian. Then his royalty files will be under the Indian royalty files. So that means his descendants will have to go to the records that are housed on the indigenous side, the Indian side, in order to even retrieve those files. Now, it's a lot. Somebody said, ask yourself why they're not talking about dollars, just barrels production, because the American economy for Black American people was in gold. Not necessarily, Derek. Not necessarily. Gold was in play. Silver was in play. In fact, there was a silver party. Titanium was in play. These people weren't walking around with bars of gold. Now, was gold in play? Yeah, gold was in play, but they also had paper currency. They've always had paper currency. You know, paper currency is not a thing that the United States of America created. Paper currency was in play before the United States was in play. Now, it was backed by gold, okay? So they say. Now, the gold has since disappeared. It disappeared during World War II. But the gold that the Queen Elizabeth had, they said it came from Africa. Although the first gold mine was discovered in America. Although they pulled more gold out of America than anywhere else on the planet, and a lot of dollars was printed. So that means there was a lot of gold in place that just up and disappeared. So if you keep in mind the amount of barrels, 34.8 million barrels of oil, you put a dollar amount to that, how much would that be worth today? Even if you don't count inflation. Even if you don't count inflation, just as a courtesy, how much would 34.8 million barrels of oil be worth? Because we don't see the derricks in the land, the oil derricks pumping oil. We don't think the pipelines aren't working. The pipelines are working. Now, when the heirs, because there are thousands of heirs that's just connected to this one man, you know, when the heirs start asking questions like, hey, you know, this is a tedious job trying to find, your family's records, trying to pursue a lawsuit, trying to, get your family together, teach them this information, say, hey, it's at least worth us looking up. Let's just see whether any of these people who were formerly, who were called slaves, let's just see if any of these people had anything. L.W. Thomas' dad looked like a slave. But there were big time oil owners, oil field owners. Now, if you really think about it, it is very tedious to get all these records together, to get all these stories in your family together, because this group of people, each and every one of them did so much. Their brothers and their sisters weren't just sitting idly by. Now, a lot of the women were homemakers, but these men weren't just sitting idly by. They was literally running industries. And the ones who wasn't running industries, they was working in these very tough industries, making a ton of money, and it was stripped away. So as a whole, we say, okay, let's just see, can we get reparations? Because this story certainly happened. This definitely happened to us. Our wealth is definitely being stripped away. And then they're trying to project that by 2050, Black Americans will have zero wealth. There is no way Black Americans will have zero wealth when you have L.W. Thomas having 34.8 million barrels of oil, and he have thousands of descendants who are here in America whose wealth going to be stripped away. How? When there are pipelines, 500,000 miles of pipelines running through Texas right now, pumping oil off of people, heirs' property. There's no way that our financial situation will ever go to zero. Clearly somebody is wrong. Clearly somebody is adding wrong. So this Black History Month, our goal is to count it up. Count up everything by pointing out these stories, by pointing out what happened. We don't have to go all the way back to the 1700s. I can go back to the turn of the century. I can go back to World War I, and I can show you hundreds of Black men and women who were running oil fields. I can show you the churches who was literally running. The churches was pumping oil out of the backyards of the churches. The churches had oil derricks on their land, pumping oil out of the oil derricks. I can show you this stuff. And so if we're talking who owe this community, if we're talking who owe Black Americans what, all I have to do is go back to World War I and say, hey, it was so many of us. It was so many Black people with oil fields. I know y'all put out that story about, what was the name of the movie that they just put out that was trash? It was called Killers of the Flower Moon. I know y'all put out Killers of the Flower Moon, and y'all made it seem as if these Russians, these Native Americans, this Mexican phenotype, whoever these people are, I know y'all tried to make it seem like it was them that ran these oil fields, all while in the movie gave them Black last names like Brown. I can't find a Native American with the last name Brown today. They don't have those type of last names. It's us that have them, right? But you tried to shame us out of saying what our last name is, right? Tried to make it seem like this came from some lowly white man who was cracking a whip, who made us pick cotton, and whatever the case may be, in order so that we won't look at the amount of people who own oil fields. Now, this group of people, this group of Black people, in some seasons they put cotton on the land, and in other seasons they put other crops on the land, and in some families they was running oil. So when you talk about the commodities alone, this oil was the cause of World War I and World War II. Can't nobody prove me wrong. I don't care if you find the top historian from Russia, find the top historian from Ukraine, Europe, Africa. Hell, go to Guatemala, go to Madagascar, find the top historian, tell them, prove this girl wrong, that World War II wasn't about oil. Just like the Civil War was about cotton. Now look up all the barrels of cotton that the North was buying from the South. King Cotton. That was the actual cause. Then look at World War II. Y'all saw these black folks with all this oil. And you killed them. And you sent their families running. And you shamed them. And you rewrote their story. And then you gave them a set of leaders for Black History Month. And while I love the story of Sarah Breedlove, I love her story. She was definitely not the only one. Because I had a great grandma who was running products in Georgia too, who made a killing, who's not talked about in history. But it's up to us to put these stories out, because the powers that be, the pseudo powers that be, they're going to put out whatever story they want to put out. I want them to put out something about this oil situation. I want them to tell the truth about the Civil War and how all these black people was actually running these cotton plantations because they was the planters planting this particular crop and selling it all over the world, just like the group of black people in Texas and Oklahoma and Mississippi and various other areas in the South on that dark gold delta dirt. And Louisiana. I want them to tell the truth about the heirs of these oil empires. That was an oil empire. That is the home of modern oil production. And that says a lot. So now that I just pointed you to your homeland, it's up to us to continue this research during Black History Month. Now, it's unfortunate that we got 28 days, but if you stick around on this channel, we're going to discuss it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to make sure that more families, since the subject matter of reparations have been all but overtaken, it's been all but kind of overtaken by these people who are talking as if they want us to have reparation, but they really don't. They're not going to tell you anything. Okay, I got you. They're not going to tell you anything that's going to actually lead you and your family to financial, to any kind of wealth. They're not going to tell you. Okay, they're going to talk about reparations. They're going to use it as a talking point, and then they're going to spin the narrative, spin whatever narrative, and spin you back to Africa some kind of way. I'm not trying to spin you back to Africa. I know if you're spent back to Africa, then you probably will become oil. You probably will end up in the pipeline somewhere. You will probably become an energy source. Just to show as you go back over to Africa and become some kind of subject. Or just if you go back to Europe, or if you go back to Iceland, or wherever they think you want to go back to today. You'd go somewhere and you'd be a subject. Versus staying over here where you know your grandparents are, where you know your great-grandparents are, your third grade, your fourth grade, your fifth grade, your uncles, your aunties, your whole family. And just spend a little time researching it. You don't have to be dedicated every day. Just one day a week. Baby steps. One day a week. Have something that you can take back to your family. And during the family reunion, you bring it up. Or 1 month, create a Facebook group. Stack your stuff in the Facebook group. Make it private. Invite your family to the Facebook group. Say, look what I found. We had a third great granddaddy who was a big time landowner. Or our lineage ties into L.W. Thomas, who was a huge landowner. Oil landowner. Okay? When you go to court, when you bring these subject matters up to court, you better have your birth certificate and it better be your last name. You better be able to point yourself to these people. You better be an heir for real. Because that jury and that judge going to make you prove that you're an heir to this person. That you are the heirs of this person. Okay. Let me read the chat. Derek, please don't. I feel like you're a hotep. I'm not totally sure. But don't come in my chat trying to teach. Please. If you want to teach, go and strike up your own YouTube channel and teach. Trust me, if If I want the chat to know something, I let them know so they can further research. I don't want to hear any hotep stuff in my chat tonight. Do not trigger me. Okay, ooh. Ooh, this is Jalen. Yep, here we go. Okay, so don't get blocked. Stay in my chat for the duration or you're gonna get blocked, okay? Let me see. What did I miss? Thank you for the super chats. For everybody who sent the super chat, I appreciate it. If y'all support this content, I'll keep it going. Thank you, Queen Obsidian, for the $10. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Rodney. Thank you. Greetings, Queen. Love it, love it. I have Simmons on both sides of my family. Many of them were scattered, lost land, and run. Please help. Now, see, this is the thing. And I was thinking about a lot of y'all, especially when I pulled that Simmons up. I was thinking about a lot of y'all because this is why families had to scatter. Now, when you put the commodity, when you add the commodities to it, then you'll see, okay, well, damn, that's why it was called the Sundown Town. Okay, that's why this militia of men was federalized, because in this same city, where L.W. Thomas was, America, and this was during this World War I. This going into World War II, actually. America put the governor put martial law in place. What? On them black people. Talk about because a crime spike had happened and then martial law had to be put in place. The history on this area is deep. The history on these, go and look at every, I don't have time today because I'm already 41 minutes in. If you just go and do a little bit just on the surface of information of where L. Thomas was back in Muskogee County and in Texas, how martial law was put in place in these areas at one. Now, if you put martial law in place, that means you finna federalize a militia. Now it's kind of like what happens today, where we will put some thugs on the street, okay? Some gang members, right? But then it'll be an underbelly of militiamen who work directly for the government. And these people be contracted to take certain folk out, right? But you can do the murder and make it look like somebody else did that. Oh, it's a brigade of thugs that's going around murdering people. No, these are marksmen. That was a direct headshot. Look at the amount of silencers that was used during World War II and ask yourself, why was it a large production of silencers, and why were they used in America so much during World War II? What the hell does America have to do with World War II? It was so many people murdered over here, it ain't even funny. You wouldn't have no reason to murder slaves, right? You wouldn't have no reason to turn black communities into sundown towns, would you? Well, if you're running a big agriculture empire and you call it, and it could possibly end up on the Lake Lanier, and today we have Tyson Chicken. If you're running a big oil empire down in Oklahoma or down in Texas, you know, we'd find a way to run you up out of there, and then it becomes BP or ConocoPhillips. Who runs ConocoPhillips and BP today? These are full white folks. These are full foreigners. In fact, the Arabs, I think, run the gas industry as if they descended from the people who were at the motherland of the oil and gas industry. You would think it would be the Arabs who were the founders of the modern oil and gas production. You would think it'd be them. Lo and behold, it's a group of Negroes. And see, then when we go to start talking about, oh, black people created this, black people created that, it's like, okay, stop talking about it now. We know black people created a lot, but no, you don't. Because if you can come out of your mouth and say that our wealth will be at zero by 2050, then you clearly don't. Because these industries are still making money today. And like I said, if black people was using the industry to fund their church so they could sing hymns on Sundays, then that goes to show you how comfortable they were. They were very comfortable. They didn't never think this industry will ever be taken from them. And it's kind of like the industry that I think the industry that we run today, like hip hop. It comes so easily to us, music industry. It comes so easy, we don't really know what we have. But then other people come and do it and then they just take off. And then they start controlling it. And these same Nazi Jews that was creating these sundown towns are the same Nazi Jews that run the music industry today. They control your commodity of music. Just like someone controls your commodity of oil. And they beat you down so that they can keep control of your industry. So that you'll never be an heir to this empire. Now, you're not going to tell me Negroes in Texas invented modern day gas and oil production and they're finna be broke? And if Texas asks for reparations, the Negroes in Texas ask for reparations, you don't give it to them? Or if the Negroes in Texas go back to get their oil heirs property back, you hesitate? Don't hesitate. This stuff is well documented. America has kept great records of these commodities. Why? Because America still runs on these commodities today. Not just America, the whole world. The reason why BRICS is not going anywhere is because those countries still have to pay America in USD. No matter what kind of deal they made with Switzerland and all these people during World War II, when they originally came and got the oil from the lowly niggas, you still have to buy your oil from America and all those oil shales down in Texas and Mississippi and Oklahoma that's pumping out of those pipes. You still have to purchase it in USD. So America will always be on top because that oil is pumping and it ain't going nowhere. It's coming out of the earth. Now, it's up to us to kind of get this subject matter all the way out there and drown out all of the confusion, drown out all of the people who are kind of telling you that I'm not saying our lineage didn't start in West Africa. Now, if y'all want to bring up 20 people that came over to America on a boat and not honor the millions who were already here, then that means you ate first lunch, you was retarded. That's retardation. Out of the 20 and odd people, one survived. Millions of us did not come from that one guy who survived. Now, you hear these talking points by these people who are supposedly telling you history so that you won't bring up this oil. All I want to hear y'all talk about is this oil in Texas and all these people who descended from these oil heirs in Texas. It wasn't just one man with it on his back. It wasn't just two men with the oil industry on their back. It was thousands of black men. When I did a documentary out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I met some of the elders who was telling me about the oil industry. They said they had networks of cities. They said Oklahoma, Tulsa wasn't just running on one city. They had networks of cities where only black people was helping each other. Only them. They wasn't worried about foreigners. That's why I had to get bombed. That's why I got bombed from the sky. The foreigners had no foothold on the land. Now, this was an elder telling me this. He said, no, we had networks of cities. People will come in and out. We had networks of cities. Networks of cities running oil. And it makes sense. Because when you look up L.W. Thomas, it says, he put $100,000 in real estate. He only let black people live in his homes. And these were the people who was working with him. He went and created his own city, own little side. And it was in Muskogee County. Okay? These are the Indians I'm talking about. For once, we need to focus. This is another set of Indians we need to focus on. All the Indians didn't die, but if I say you're a dead Indian, then that means you don't need your land. I could just take you out of the picture by any means necessary. I'm going to just take you out of the picture, take your lineage out of the picture, tell you you're from Africa, because a dead Indian will never come back and get his land. I will kill you on paper, and I will kill you verbally, because a dead Indian will never come back and get his land. You are African American now. That's the importance of acknowledging your Indian side, the land. Now, mind you, everybody didn't call themselves Indian, whatever the case may be. Some people went just by their last names, Thomas. That's fine too. But you in Indian territory operating, you in Muskogee County, that's Indian territory. You was not a African in Indian territory operating on land. You wasn't a Russian in Indian territory operating on land. You wasn't a European in Indian territory. You wasn't Scandinavian. You wasn't Cameroonian. You wasn't none of that. You wasn't Madagascar. You wasn't Sudanese. You wasn't none of that operating in Indian territory. You was an Indian, and there was a network of black cities, what we call a black. There was a network of Indian cities running these commodities. Now, it is what it is, guys. I didn't make the rules. I'm just reading them and researching them. That's it. Now, ain't nobody finna keep calling us African and not acknowledging this part. That one guy that y'all said came over here, that we supposed to millions descended from one guy's nut sacks. Just remind these people, hey, first lunch. You ate first lunch. Your bus was little. That little 4-window bus clearly is you. All right. Let me read these. Thank you for the super chat, Marcus. That's right. Texas, stand up. That's right. That's right. That's right. See, it's a spirit there. It has to be. Because even where I am in Atlanta, it's a spirit here. It's an old spirit here that people say you can't shake this old spirit. It makes you want to work. It makes you want to strive for better. If you get this information to men in Texas, sometimes you feel something and you don't know where the feeling is coming from. It ain't you sometimes. It's the spirit of these old men who were wrong, who were forgotten about, roaming the earth. It's a spirit. They know ConocoPhillips stealing their stuff. They know BP stealing their stuff. They know it's their heirs' property. They just got to somehow get the message to you. Yeah, I don't want y'all to forget Mr. Simmons. I don't want y'all to forget the old man, Mr. Simmons from Texas. Please don't forget. That's what I said when I was thinking about a lot of y'all when I saw L.W. Thomas and Jake Simmons, who are these big time oil owners. Please don't forget that old man, Mr. Simmons, who had came and said the developers are trying to take his land in Texas recently, who went viral. Please don't forget. Okay? Sometimes it's these spirits that attaches to us, that wants us to get their story out, that wants us to know that, hey, you came from me. Go back and see what happened to me and move accordingly. Go back and tell the family I wasn't a slave. Go back and tell the family I wasn't poor. Go back and tell the family nobody beat me up. Go back and tell the family nobody whipped me with a whip. Go back and tell the family I was wrong. We were bummed. Go back and tell the family someone pretended to be my friend and they murdered me with a silencer. Nobody heard it. They didn't even find my body. Somebody go back and tell the family they hung me from a tree, and so that nobody can identify me, they burned my body. Somebody go back and tell the family that they burned the body, but my spirit's still here. This Black History Month, it may be some tough conversations we need to have. I wonder why during Black History Month nobody ever talks about lynchings. I wonder why during Black History Month nobody ever goes in on why was these black men who y'all said was just slaves, why was they targeted and lynched? Somebody said something about some stupid ritual. No. When I did further research on it, a lot of these people were landowners. In my own family, a lynching happened here in Georgia. Swung from a tree. Big time landowner. And if it happened in my family, I know it happened in y'all's too. This Black History Month, we need to talk about these stories. We need to see, why was that person targeted? Just like people with good ideas today, why is that person targeted? Just like people who come out being a truth teller or whatever today, why is these people targeted? They ain't targeted because they're telling you came from Africa for sure. They targeted because you might find some information on their page about some oil. And then you might go back after it. But that person the one told you about it. So somebody might think they be brave enough. Somebody might think they brave enough to come after that person for telling you about it. Because it's a world thing. The Arabs get their oil out of that area. The Arabs don't want the niggas of America to know. The Arabs don't want the Negro Americans, the African Americans to know. Just like the Africans don't want you to know. Because they want to come over here and get in on it too. They want to do a switcheroo with your identity as well. Just like the Russians were somehow able to do and say that they were Native Americans. See, they did that all through the media. You can thank the media for that. You can thank the government for that. The CIA, whoever. You can thank them for allowing the Russians to do a switcheroo on the original American Indians. Because somebody should have been clocked their tea and said, okay, well, damn, how you from Siberia and you indigenous to America as well? That does not match. So you mean to tell me this was your oil land? Did you all know how to run an oil empire out of Russia? So how did you come to America and learn how to do? Was you running oil in the cold dirts of Siberia? Then how were you able to come to America and run an oil business? That doesn't make sense. You're just 2 generations in. That Negro over there is 15 generations in. Make it make sense this Black History Month. Okay? I'm going to read the chat. And I'm going to get out. Let me see. Hey, thank you for the super chat. Marcus said, John Simmons is my second great grandfather on my mom's side. Will the real Simmons in Texas please stand up? Because see, it's not hard to find the heirs. The reason why this is how you know it's not hard to find the heirs. Developers have companies that find heirs. Now, what they do to the heirs when they find them is to be discussed. It's to be discussed. It's to be discussed before our wealth goes down to zero. If they could kill us all, they would. Because we are the only people in the whole wide world that owns this heirs property and that own these land patents forever. Forever. A lot of these land patents were issued from Indians, from Indian chiefs, from Indian kings, from presidents. You'd be surprised the amount of history that you can uncover from a land patent, from a survey, from a plat map. I've been saying since 2019, go and pull the plat maps. Once you find your family's land, your homeland, where your family was for thousands of years, when that whole survey system was created, when these foreigners came and started encroaching so bad that we couldn't control it anymore. So we said, okay, let's protect ourselves. And then we came up with the system to patent our stuff so that it could be ours forever, no matter whether they come over here or not. We came up with that system. You'd be surprised how many families tie into it. It's easy to find families if you're dedicated to it, if that's your job. Like I said, the developers have people who just search for heirs. They can find your current address, they find your phone number, they find all of the above. Whether they reach out to you or not is up to be discussed. You're supposed to reach out to all the heirs, but if you do it, whether you do it or not is up for discussion. And how you do it is up for discussion. I suppose some of these developers, especially if you're in the Texas, if you're on this oil-rich land of Oklahoma, because be you not deceived, this oil still is being pumped. Okay, if you're on some of this land and they want the commodities out, whether it's oil, whether it's gold, whether it's silver, whether it's titanium. You saw what just happened in South Georgia when COVID was dropped off in Albany, Georgia. They're now pumping uranium out of, mining uranium out of that area down there, guys. Just like clockwork. Uranium and titanium. On the first area where COVID was dropped off in America, down in Albany, Georgia. Okay? So these people see something prior to. All right? They can try to kill you off with the sickness, with a ventilator. They can kill hundreds of you off with just ventilators. If I can trick you enough. If I can get you to think, hey, I'm from Africa. If I can get you to convince your family that you're from Africa and all y'all move over there, great. Because I'm going to come over to America and I'm going to move my family over there for a better life while I tell you to go to my third world country and live your life. I'm not going to switcheroo my land so that you can come live a better life while I go to your third world country where ain't nothing but trees and lions. Oh my, I don't want to sleep with lions. If I wanted to sleep with lions, I'd go to a zoo. Okay, I don't think that's as opulent as my good old pine trees in America. I won't switch out lions for pine trees. I can do a lot with these pine needles on my tree, including rooting you up. I could do a lot with this pine needle oil. I could do a lot. Okay, my ancestors saw pine trees as royalty. My ancestors connected pine trees to having wealth. So yeah, you can keep your lions. You know. That being said, y'all, I've been on here an hour. I love y'all so much. Let me read. Thank you for everybody who supported this history lesson. Oh God, it's gonna be deep. We're gonna go down through there this month. Let me read some of the chat before I get too outside. Let me read some of the chat. So the chief, the chat, all my kinfolk, we're glad to see y'all. Now feel our pain in Texas. Leon County, Limestone County, Freestone County. We know what your ancestors did. We know what you did. We know what you did, and we know what you're doing. We know what you did, and we know what you're doing. Okay? Chief, you mean look like a slave per the census labeling? Look like. Somebody said all gold in the world is on the reserve. Who they holding it for? Hey, Susu. Then change the name of the town after the massacre. See, to cover it up. Let's just hide. Y'all, it's a city on. I gotta bring y'all some to y'all attention. Then I'm gonna get off here because it's supposed to be a short live, okay? Because y'all want me on here every day. I'm gonna bring something to y'all attention. Then I'm gonna get off. Let me see. This is what part of North Carolina? What part of North Carolina? Because somebody was trying to go back and forth with me. North Carolina. Hold on, I just gotta find this right quick, y'all, because I need to bring y'all attention to something. North Carolina city threatens to be flooded. Ah, came right up. Princeville. Hello, Prince family. Princeville, America's oldest black town, is threatened by floods and seeking a plan B. This just happened. I want to bring this to y'all attention. The reason why I'm gonna bring this to y'all attention. Okay, let me put it on the screen before I get off here, because we gonna talk about this too. Let me bring this to y'all. Let me bring this before I get out of here. With a real Prince family, please help. Please. Let's see. Okay. Washington Post. This was January 28th. America's oldest black town is threatened by floods and seeking a plan B. Now, when you go look up the history of Princeville, the Wikipedia page is going to say something like, these people were here during the Civil War, and the white people wanted the land on the hill, and this is the land that they gave to black people. That's not true. That's not true. Now, I had to do a deep dive on this when this first came out, because somebody was trying to go back and forth with me on the post saying these was, Africans that came over on Instagram. People say the craziest things online. Okay. These people chose these lowlands, if you will, because certain crops grow on lowlands during certain seasons. Okay. And so lowlands were lowlands was considered like wealthy lands as it relates to growing certain crops. Let's just say that, okay, for the lack of better word. As it relates to agriculture and cattle, you want lowlands during certain seasons, right? So black people could choose lowlands, they could choose highlands, they could choose whatever they want. In fact, Lake Lanier is what we call a Piedmont or lowland. The cities that were under Lake Lanier were right at Piedmont or lowland, and they was raising chickens down there. So they had the agriculture side, and they made a lot of money in these lowland areas. So this wasn't land that the black people was just giving this land because the white people didn't want it. No. People who were indigenous to these regions, they pick and choose whatever land they want to get. You will sit in whatever house they put you in. But you cannot diminish what's happening in the city by saying, "Oh, well, that ain't even land that the Negroes wanted." You wasn't back in that day. You don't know how much money they were making back in that area. You talking about Tar Heel River? You talking about the Tar Heel, the Indian that was down there in that area? So the Army Corps of Engineers, I think, is planning on damming this Princeville, the oldest black town. They're about to dam it. Now, if we go history, ain't nothing good gonna come out of that. It's other ways that you can reroute. It's whole river systems that have been rerouted. Hell, the Mississippi River not been rerouted. If that big river can be rerouted, surely whichever river is threatening to flood the oldest black city in America can be rerouted. Now, the haters will tell you ain't no more black cities in America. It's plenty. The Africans online will tell you niggas don't own nothing in America. Are you crazy? No, you don't own nothing in America. It's more black cities than you think. Plenty. Owned, run, operated. Plenty. Okay? This one is the Army Corps of Engineers is about to dam it. Now I brought this up so chat, we know what we know over here. We know what we done put out to the world. I'm telling you, I'm saying, keep paying attention. Cause see, they can reroute any water. You can reroute the water. You can come up with another system other than a dam. I feel like if they dam it, they gonna let that water collect, and then they end up flooding. And now Lake Lanier was created, it was dammed so that water could be collected to feed the incoming immigrants. We got an influx of immigrants over here now. Is that the excuse that they gonna use somewhere down the line for Princeville? It's down the line. Are they gonna say Princeville was created to have a water source for incoming Sudanese immigrants? Or, because they always have to put the black people in the black area. Today they do, just because they know we know what's up. So they probably put the Sudanese in, all those Sudanese soldiers that's coming to the border in Princeville area. Okay, are they gonna say that Princeville was damned so that incoming Asians, these Chinese that are at the border, could have a water source? Is that what they're gonna say? Like, no, I don't trust the Army Corps of Engineers as far as I can throw them. I don't trust y'all niggas need to be nowhere around no black-owned cities. Nowhere. Okay? Y'all ain't even paid reparations and restitutions before what you did at Lake Lanier. You ain't even paid reparations and restitution for the other dams all in America that you done flooded. Created and flooded these cities. I don't trust nothing they do. Nothing. Okay? I wanted to bring that to y'all attention, cause boy, y'all done flooded too many cities for us to be trying to trust y'all all willy-nilly. Y'all please click like in here. Make sure y'all click like in here. I'm about to get off here. Here's one. I've been on here hour and 11 minutes. We need a mass deportation and do susu. Exactly, William. Lately all over again. We appreciate these lives, mama. Thank you, Cal. Y'all got me now every day. Okay, weekdays. Okay, I'm gonna take Saturday and Sunday off. If you order from Hello Plants, check your tracking. Your order is either at your front porch or on the way. We had a big shipment that went out today. If you have your history book on pre-order, we coming in hot with this product, okay? If you ordered your American history book, you should have those. I have a few outstanding orders because I just got a shipment in on yesterday and I'm still packing shipments. So those are on the way, as well as the pre-orders. American History Book Volume 2 is on pre-orders. Grab your pre-orders. Once this book is off pre-orders, it'll be the regular price of $100. These books don't just come with history lessons. There are a lot of actionable items in this book, and you're gonna love it. Y'all gonna absolutely love it. Okay. Let's see. Yes, low country folks. Exactly. Low country. These lowlands, these were places of agriculture empire. Like, hell, look at South Carolina. What happened in South Carolina? Low country South Carolina, all that rice production, all that the wheatgrass production. There's a lot of stuff that they were producing on those lowlands. Hell, cotton. Shoot. You need a water source. You need a water source. And that's what lowlands are good for, being a water source. Yeah, they trying to turn stuff into Dust Bowl. Yeah, the lands are very fertile. Thank y'all. See, my chat is so smart. Y'all know I have limited vocabulary with these short lies. I can't, I got to think real quick. All right. Okay, I love y'all. Somebody said, Princeville, that's Rocky Mount area, floods every year. FEMA moved in last time. Okay, so FEMA is trying to move in this time. Now, see, here's what they said. They're saying FEMA just started helping this area. Now, what we do know is FEMA does not help areas with heirs property, because they said you're supposed to help yourself. Okay? You're supposed to figure it out. You're supposed to figure it out. I guess that's their thought process. but FEMA has moved in to finally start helping the people in Princeville with resources and helping them rebuild or whatever. But the thing, what it seems like our ancestors was doing, which is why it seems like they had heirs property and land patents in multiple states, multiple areas. It seemed like they used some land for crop production. Of course, you had to live on the land, of course, but it seemed like some land was very seasonal. But we today, we live on seasonal lands, all 4 seasons, versus following the almanac. Like I pulled up an almanac yesterday and threatened some people with the almanac. Because we are not controlling our agriculture anymore like we should. We still have our A&M colleges, our agriculture colleges, but we're not sending these students from these agriculture colleges out to the land anymore. We pointing them in other directions. We have to send our children from our A&E colleges, our HBCUs. And by the way, let me not forget to mention L.W. Thomas, the oil heir, graduated from an HBCU. Okay? He graduated from Wiley College. Okay? The president of Wiley College, the current president of Wiley College, and me, we graduated from the same college, Edward Waters University down in Jacksonville. Shout out to you. Okay? Let me not forget that part. L.W. Thomas. Before somebody tried to say, well, he was a white guy. No. He graduated from an HBCU. Okay? HBCUs back in then ain't like they is today. They were Indian colleges back in the day. Okay? He graduated from Wiley College. All right? Wiley College is still around today. Anyway, I didn't want to forget to add that little tidbit in. Anyway, let me get off here, y'all. I'll see y'all on, I might come live tomorrow because I kind of want to talk about what's going on in pop culture with the industry of hip hop. I'm not totally sure. It depends on what the spirit tells me to do. I might come on here, I might not. Get your your American History Part 2 pre-orders in. I love y'all so much, and I will see y'all next time. Please share this with somebody if you think this was an interesting history lesson. Especially the last part with him being, HBCU grad. Like, what? Like, it's a group of people telling us not to go to HBCUs. Like, what? It was oil owners? What? HBCUs produce oil owners? That's why a lot of them are A&M? What? I can't. Anyway, I love y'all. Leave your comments down below in the comment section if you think it's something that I should go over and research during this Black History Month. I love y'all. Bye.